Welcome to the Daily Dish with Leanne Ely. This is a show about you, your life, and the vibrancy you want. Join us for daily motivation, wise women's tips, and more as we collectively gather together and move the needle in our lives, heart, mind, body, and soul. Now, here is your host, Leanne Ely, and the Daily Dish.
Rock and roll, hoochie coo. Were you rocking out to that music? I know I was. Kathy's here. Corliss, Flynn, Jama. Hello. Guess who else is here? Amber, Jenny, Lincoln. Jackie's here. Helen's here. Jeanette, Carla, Jama. Y'all, guess what's happening on Saturday? Kimberline, Teresa, Diane's here. Guess what's happening on Saturday? You're just not going to believe it. Lincoln's turning 1 year old. It's his birthday. My doggie's turning. He's turning 1. Can you believe that? Jocelyn's here. Cornelia, Teresa, Claudia, Doris. Look at all of you lovelies walking in the door here. Joanna's in the house. The Lincoln Project is 1 year old. On Saturday. Hello, Saturday. Hey, Sarah, Jane, Susan, Lucy. Can you believe he's a year old? Well, I'm just gonna say it. This is an opportunity for you to get signed up for our text message only list. On Saturday, Lincoln's birthday, we're gonna be sending out a special deal just for you subscribers. Just letting you know. You want to know what the phone number is? Oh, it is Groundhogs Day. No, it's not. Groundhogs Day is not. No. His birthday is February 5th. Groundhogs Day is the 2nd, which is on Wednesday. We'll celebrate. All you have to do to get onto our email list, I'm going to give you a whole demo, okay? So here's what you do. See, here's my phone. Do you see that? You put the text message up and you put up a new, look, blank screen where it says 2. This is where you put that phone number, 855-960-3720, right? And then you put the word join. Did you see what I just did? See how the word join is right there in the message and the phone number's right there? And then I hit the word send. Now, I'm not going to do this because they already know me, and I don't want to be charged for that. So, and when I hit send, then it'll say, welcome to Saving Dinner. Do you want to get text messages from us? Yes or no? Then you put yes, and then you're in. Boop, 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 boop. Because Lincoln is going to be sending you a deal. Oh, he's working on it. He is working on it. My puppy, who's like 95 pounds. Oh, my word. 855-960-3720. That is our phone number. All right. You got that? I hope everybody's got that. All right. Now, here is our quote of the week. Caring about other people's approval and you will be their prisoner. Well, they didn't say caring. They said care about other people's approval and you will be their prisoner. Have you noticed this? Have you noticed? This is exactly, I have noticed this exactly that. And you know what the other whammy is with this whole thing? Hey, Alice, you want to hear this? And this is a jaw dropper, is that they don't care about they don't care. They don't go beyond what we think they're going beyond as far as their thinking. You know? You want their approval, they're either going to give it to you or not, and then they're going to get on with their lives. You're going to be sitting there worrying, oh, did they give me their approval? Oh, I say this from personal experience. Anyway, this is Crave Crusher. This is one of the supplements that I would not be without. Yes, you take 4 in a setting, but boy, oh boy, does it do the trick. It crushes cravings. I also use L-glutamine like this, loose in a dish. And this also has a little bit of L-glutamine in it, but it has some other secret ingredients in there too. all to affect the way that your brain views cravings and to crush them. Buy 3, get 1 free. You will get the full details on why this is such an incredible supplement. savingdinner.com/show. Y'all, sincerely, this is the best. And then L-glutamine on top of it. Can you just believe that? Hey, Pamela, I'm glad you're here. Lucy, I'm glad you're here as well. Martha, in the house. In the house. And if I missed anybody saying on their way in, well, my apologies to you. Also, don't forget that our sprint is tonight. Who's going to be in? 7 p.m. tonight is our sprint. And boy, are we going to sprint. You know what, y'all? All games aside, let's get this done. Let's start really getting serious and on top of this food principles and on top of everything. Here's the thing that I know, that when you take your life and your health seriously, you do things differently. You don't have time, right? You don't just put things off indefinitely. And as I'm going to talk today, time is not a renewable resource. It is not. You get your time, and if you waste it, if you kill it, God forbid, you don't get that back. I told you one of my pet peeves is when people say, oh, I'm just killing time, just sitting here killing time. Come on. Talk about, that's a big old raspberry to God himself. He gave you your time and you're killing it? Come on. Can you tell it bugs me? All right. So we have that. What else do I need to tell you about? I need to tell you that all of our social media channels are open and we are posting regularly in them. If you haven't seen our Pinterest board, you're missed out because Caroline does all of it with all the photos and everything. It's beautiful. We have, what else can I tell you about? We've gotten some new TikTok videos that have gone up. Boy, I'm just really, if you have ideas for TikTok videos, by the way, send them my way. It's a little different than doing this. I mean, I'm super comfortable doing this, obviously. I've been doing it for 2+ years. This is a little bit different because, it's short bits. And can I do a short bit? I don't know. You'll have to probably cut me off. Anyway, anything like that, just send them our way. And send any questions that you might have for our Q&A. That's on Friday. Send them to support@savingdinner.com. Question for Leanne on Friday goes right there in the subject line. Margot and Mary and Darla, all in the house. Look at that. Presto, presto, presto. They just come right up. Who watched this whole week? Did you watch the whole thought week that we did last week? Anyone? Pinkies up if you were a part of that whole crew. I hope that you found it helpful because this week we're going to start looking at contrasts. I find that to be so helpful. And any kind of a contrast helps me to see because, we don't do well with gray, but we're really good with black and white. We get this over here and that over there. We sure do. Boom, there's a dichotomy. And it just makes it so stark, the contrast. I love stark contrasts. So we're going to be talking this week about this or that. And we're going to be contrasting stuff. Isn't that so much fun? It's going to be fun, I think. I hope. Anyway, today I've got a good one for you. I'm contrasting acceptance or avoidance. Whoop. You might like that. Yes, and don't forget about Inner Circle because Inner Circle, now's the time to get signed up for it. We still have a few seats left, which I'm kind of shocked. And tomorrow night, we're going to be just finishing and turning the page on everything for our Rising Tide. That is the group of women who've gotten together to create goals. And I am working my little butt ski off to get all of your goals done and sent in. My goal is to have them done today and sent back to you today. So if you've got goals in for me, if you're part of the Rising Tide and you've sent your goals in for me to evaluate and look at and give you some feedback, please thank you for your patience. I'm not even going to say, please be patient with me. I'm not even going to say that. I'm just going to say, thank you for your patience. I'm going to acknowledge that you are going to be gracious and give me patience because I need it right now. I've got a lot of people who's all sitting there, a lot of people all sitting there waiting. I mean, a few people. probably in the double digits now. Yikes. So, but I'm going to get them done. Don't worry. I'm not putting it off. I'm going to get them done. All right. Let's see. What else do we have going on this week? That's it. Like my big focus is Lincoln's birthday. Can you tell what I mean? I am just an over the top dog mom. What can I tell you? Yeah, and I did call myself a dog mom. Something I said I would never do. my little doggy. Anyway, let's just get into the material today because I think it's going to be really helpful because, as we're looking toward this year, and I mean, this is the last day of the month. Can you believe it? For January? How quickly did this January fly by? It just flew. But as we're going through and we're sorting out and saying, this year I want to do this, and this year I want to do that. Well, yeah, this year you do want to do this and you do want to do that. It is not too late, by the way, if it is January 31st and you say, yeah, but I haven't even started. It's not too late. We can start anytime we make a decision to start. And this is one of the reasons why I want to get right into this whole idea of this versus that. There was a men's health magazine. I think it's called Men's Health, as a matter of fact. And there was a nutritionist in there who wrote, eat this, don't eat that, kind of a thing. Do you remember that? And as a matter of fact, it got so popular. This is probably 10 years ago. It got so popular, he ended up writing a book, Eat This, Not That. And sometimes I was just like, oh man, did I forget about this? Oh, Diane's looking for the quote of the week. It's right here. Care about people's approval and you will be their prisoner. That is the quote of the week. Yes. So anyway, where was I on all of that? But we are going to be going and talking about the difference between this and that, because the stark contrast is something sometimes that our brain needs. It needs that. It needs to understand the difference between this over here and that over there. It needs to understand why you're choosing this and not choosing that. It needs to see sometimes that, and this is the kicker, and you guys know this, that sometimes the thing that we think that we're choosing, the thing that we're going about and choosing, maybe isn't such a great idea. Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever noticed that and thought, oh, I thought this was going to be a good choice, but really it's not? Because maybe we haven't done a full evaluation. Doesn't matter. Today, we're going to be talking about this versus that and how to contrast them in such a way that we can start making better choices. Don't you think that's a good idea? I always think that's a great idea. And by the way, I wanted to also say thank you to Rena for the cute card over the weekend. She sent me a little card saying happy 21 years in business. It's so sweet. She's like the card queen. She just sends cards all the time and I just love it. So thank you, Rena. It does brighten my day every single time. So I appreciate that. Hi, Lynn. I'm glad you're here. So let's talk about avoidance versus acceptance, because they are very stark. And I think you'll see the whys behind the avoidance and the way and the path to acceptance, okay? Because you can't accept anything. That means yourself, your circumstances, your life, if you're living a life of avoidance. And, if you look at it, if you look at how you actively spend your time and how you actively sometimes avoid certain things, you can see that contrast really pop out, because acceptance really is a skill or a group of skills learned and applied into your life so that you can get better at something or be better at something or just become a better human. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing. We all need to, I think, what if we all in this world said, hey, I want to be a better human? Can you imagine how things would change so dramatically? Wouldn't that be nice? But the thing is with acceptance, that's the difficulty, obviously, is that to accept means that you need to turn toward the pain instead of running away from it. And again, pain is translated and within the eyes of the observer and the eyes of the person who is experiencing whatever it is that they're avoiding. So what is it? It could be actual pain. It could be actual, it could be, heartache kind of pain, or the pain of having to say something or confront someone. It doesn't matter. But the point is that avoidance is easy. And that's usually what we choose instead of acceptance, because acceptance is hard. And when we turn toward the pain, whatever it is, instead of running for it, we have other options in our lives. And we open the doors, believe it or not. We expand the borders of our hearts, of our lives, of our friendship circle, of our understanding. It's incredible what happens when we decide to do the hard thing, when we make that decision. And avoidance is a default mechanism. We talked about that, last a couple of weeks ago when we talked about how procrastination is not because you're lazy. Procrastination is a coping mechanism, but we've got a lot of them. It's just procrastination is just one way that we avoid. It's just one way. So, and that, most of us don't even realize that we're doing it. We're kind of conditioned from a childhood or, a traumatic childhood or traumatic event or whatever, but we're all basically conditioned to avoid the hard stuff. And we don't even realize it. And that's the kicker, is that we don't even realize it until one day we do. Has anybody ever been in that place where you realize, oh my gosh, this is what's been going on. This is what I've been doing. So, but if you've ever procrastinated, denied the existence of anything, they call that denial. Ever heard of that one? Pretended everything was just fine. Anyone? That one. How are you doing? No, really, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. You're doing great. I'm fine. Sure you are. Hey, Juanita. Unable to take any criticism. You see criticism as just this thing that it's just going to knock you for a loop. When in fact, sometimes criticism, every once in a while, can be constructive and just be something like, hey, can you fix this here? Or is something here, out of line, or what's up? Criticism sometimes will bring us to the place of understanding that something's out of alignment. How do you like that? Hey, Linda. If you've ever binged, if you've ever done food, booze, alcohol, whatever, drugs of any kind, really, TV, games on your phone, that's all addiction stuff, y'all. And addiction's like the capital A avoidance addiction, because it keeps us from having to confront stuff that we're scared about. So why do we avoid stuff in the first place? What's the deal? Well, there's a variety of reasons. And remember what we discussed a few weeks ago, the whole idea of procrastination. But the thing about avoidance is, regardless of how you try to pull it off, regardless of whatever methodology you're going to use, it's never going to clear the decks, and it's never going to help you feel good. But we don't connect with that. Isn't that the funniest thing? It's the weirdest thing, because our intellect and our logic says, follow the bouncing ball. So yes, we do this. Yes, we do this. And then yes, we don't get to that final box. We don't get to check that box because we still feel like crap. Avoidance is never going to help us feel better. I think that's a good thing to contrast, because avoidance and acceptance has the same end game, right? The same end game of acceptance means that you've accepted the circumstances and you've confronted it and you've had to deal with it. Avoidance, if you decide not to avoid anymore, that means you have to accept, and that means that you're now going to deal with whatever it is that you need to deal with. Acceptance is going to give you the relief that you're looking for. Acceptance is going to give you the feeling of, okay, so finality, putting a period at the end of it, of making sure that things are done and said and whatever. you can't not go through your whole life without having acceptance be a part of it. Otherwise, there's a whole life that you're not living. That's the whole thing that I see. So why do we avoid in the first place, right? Why do we avoid? Number one, and if you're part of the Rising Tide, you know you've heard me yap about this, but flimsy goals. If you have flimsy goals, then you don't really have a sense of where you're going. And if you don't have a sense of where you're going, then you just feel kind of moorless, like just a ship lost at sea. When your goals aren't well defined and not constrained by any kind of a timeline or way too far off in the future, you feel like there's no point. So that could be one of the reasons why. Flimsy goals. Number two is no connection to your future self. Speaking of a few weeks ago, I think it was the first full week of January, we did a whole series on what your future self is about. Have you noticed we've kind of been setting and teeing this whole thing up for first of the year kind of mindset piece so that we can get in there and really get the work done that we want to get done on ourselves to have the lives that we want to have and actually attain some of these goals. What fun. But if we don't have a connection to our future self, we don't know what she looks like, we're not even sure about who she is, that's sad. And our future self is, you don't want yourself today to be your future self tomorrow. Because listen, there's plenty I hope that you love about yourself, but we're always learning, we're always growing, we're always getting better. We're always becoming more. That is our purpose here on this earth, to become more. God didn't give us one talent, right? He didn't give us one. He gave us several, and we are to go out there and do something with it, right? So we have to connect to that future self in order to make that happen. And number three is overwhelm. We need to not only have a big picture analysis of what's up, but we also need to see the scope, because we see the scope of the big picture, but the hope is in breaking it down into smaller bits. Hear me on this. Until we have a big picture analysis, until we have the guts to look at, like, what's this all about? What is this going to mean for me? What am I going to have to do? Until we have that, then we aren't going to be in the place where we can break it down and make it tangible and make it smaller goals and make it something that we can do. So, for example, and I got a few of these gals that I'm counseling right now who are in my, one of my coaching programs, and they want to lose 100 pounds over the course of a year. Well, yes, you can do that in the course of a year, but you can't do it in 12 weeks. Maybe there's some crazy people out there that could do that, but I'm not going to say that that's a good way to do it at all. But 100 pounds in 12 weeks? No, but 20 pounds in 12 weeks? Doable. We can put that on the list. So do you see how we can chip away at a big goal, but we look at the big picture so that we can create the big, hairy, audacious goal, right, Lisa? Hi, by the way, and Denise and Marguerite. When we have that big, hairy, audacious goal, we don't let that overwhelm us. We simply look at the beast, we name it and say, oh, a BHAG. How can I chop that down into something that I can do in 12 weeks? What's my to-do list going to look like daily because of that big, hairy, audacious goal? Do you see how that all breaks down? Number 4 is indecisiveness. Oh my gosh. If you can't make a decision, well, then why make it at all, right? You could just default to no decision at all. But guess what? A non-decision is still a decision. We can't default and not make a decision and then just say, oh, well, here it is. That's like saying, well, I don't have to take responsibility for it because I didn't do that. Oh, that's not how it works. So it's still a decision. It's still a coping mechanism on your part, and you're still responsible for a non-decision. So keep that in mind, that if you feel indecisive and you generally go to the place of not making decisions, saying, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't help it, I ran out of time, it's this, that, and the other thing, perhaps you're avoiding this decision for whatever reason. You've got to think. Number 5 is closely related. It's called task aversion. I can tell you perfectly, I can tell you about so many things where I've had to do this. And, I mean, from small things like, anyone here love cleaning toilets? Of course not. But we love having a clean toilet, don't we? Nobody wants to have the quality of a truck stop toilet in their homes. We want clean bathrooms, right? Well, that toilet's got to get scrubbed. Someone's got to do it. You either hire it done or you do it yourself. It's got to get done, though, and you got to have a clean toilet. To avoid it is to ask for a health problem in a stinky house, a stinky bathroom at least. But, we do it. We get it done. We put it on the rotation. We just get it done as quickly as we can. We can't avoid that task if we want to have a clean bathroom. The same goes, though, for a phone call you don't want to make, or a task at work that you don't want to do, or whatever. If you put it off and you put it off and you put it off, it's going to just add up, doesn't it? That's how we get late fees on credit cards. That's why we have expired food in our grocery in our grocery bins or produce bins in our refrigerators. What did I think Amber called them the produce morgue, where good produce goes to die. Yeah, we don't have to do that, But, I will tell you, I really felt this when I had something that I purchased not too long ago, and it didn't fit. It was terrible, and I didn't like it, and I was like, get it out of here. I returned it, and they, I was trying to get the return label from the company, and they said, sorry, you've had it for longer than vegetable hospice. That's it. Hi, Noreen. But yeah, you can't return something if you go past the due date. So that's what happens when we put stuff off. Duh, right? Perfectionism is another thing. This doesn't all go under the umbrella of perfectionism, right? It's not all about perfectionism. Perfectionism just fits into the whole reasons why we find ourselves saying, oh, it's not good enough. It's not ready yet. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want people to see me as foolish. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of success, or I'm afraid of somebody seeing my flaws, or I'm afraid of my tender side or my vulnerability, or I'm afraid if I expose too much, I haven't said enough, or whatever. We allow perfectionism to be the big hairy monster that we hide behind to protect us. That's why we do it. That's why we do any of this stuff. We look at them and view them as protectors. All of this stuff. Procrastination, same idea. It just keeps us safe. Guess who's talking to us at that point? Huh? I'll tell you exactly who's talking to me. It's that darned Amy again, Amy, my amygdala, who wants to keep me safe at any cost, at my goals cost, at my heart's cost, at what I think is the better thing to do's cost. My amygdala doesn't care. My amygdala has no care in the world about how I feel about something, what my goals are, how I'm supposed to live my life, the mission that God has called me on. Amygdalas don't care, right? Amygdalas say, safe, small, quiet in a corner. That's where I want to be. Just leave me alone. And we've allowed our amygdalas to run the show for so long. And this is why I think it's really important, because we talked about all of our amygdalas last week. And a lot of you named your amygdalas, by the way. And I love that. I know Tanya's named hers Stephanie, which I think is a riot. There we go. Diane's named hers Jezebel. I love it. And I know a lot of you have named your amygdalas. Good. Keep naming them. Because remember, that contrast between, Mickey, there you go, between your amygdala and you means there's a boss. If we're naming our amygdala, we're putting amygdala, nobody puts baby in a corner. Well, everybody puts their amygdalas in a corner, please. Right? So we have Amy sitting there in the corner right now. She's sitting there in the corner waiting for a word from me so that I can let her back out, because otherwise she would jump out and say, I'm going to run the show. That's like letting a 3-year-old run your life, fearful, scared, holding on to mommy's leg. and it just doesn't work. So this is something that we have to look at, and this is something that we know is part of the way that we run our shows, right? It's our operating system. Make it keep us safe, safe, safe. I'm scared, scared, scared. That's a risk, risk, risk. No, no, no. That's our amygdala. And it's up to us to change all of that. And when we can contrast the difference between these two things that we're talking about, agreement versus acceptance, it's a big difference, isn't it? Isn't it? Number 7 is overly optimistic. Hello, anyone? Or overly pessimistic. Think about it. An optimist says, oh, I've got plenty of time. And a pessimist says, oh, I don't have any time at all. I can't do this. So what happens? Between the two of them, nothing. Nothing gets done because the plenty of time optimist is paralyzed, but is thinking, oh, we'll just put it off until, we need to have to do it. And the pessimist is saying, well, there's no time to do it, so I'm not even going to attempt to. And what happens? Well, sometimes you get a half-assed job by an optimist who thinks, oh, sorry, I should have spent more time on it. And the pessimist says, well, there wasn't enough time, and there's your half-assed job there. It doesn't work really well. My kids used to do this all the time. But you know how kids are when they're little, they push things off just like we do, and they learn from the best. They see us doing it, and so they start doing it, and then we get mad at them for it. Where do you think they learn? They watch. They are much better at being mini yous than doing what you say. They're going to do what you do, not what you say, because that's the strongest and loudest thing you've ever said is what you're doing. Our examples are everything. So a lack of motivation can fit in here. Yeah, you see that? Although motivation, as you recall, only comes a calling after we have a little action in there first. It has to be that way. And this is true when it comes to a disconnect, massively. When I was in college, I'll tell you exactly, I had an organic chemistry class. And I will tell you right now, I think I got a D-. I barely passed. I never studied for it. I attended class, and not all the time, but I never studied. Do you know why I never studied? I was looking at it and said, what kind of application is this? I want to be a writer. This has nothing to do with that. And honestly, if I had a vote in it and could reform colleges and what have you, a lot of that prerequisite stuff, come on, I'd get rid of so much of it. There's a college, I know I'm going off on a tangent. There's a college called Full Sail, if you've ever heard of it. And it's like I don't remember, it's like 2.5 years, and it's full time. It's full time, boom, like immersion type stuff. And they don't have any of this they might have some prerequisite. But I remember Caroline, my daughter, dated a guy who was going, who I think he was transferring to Full Sail or something. And I was fascinated reading about it online. And I thought, boy, more colleges should be like that. But there's a connection there. When we can connect well with what it is, we're more apt to do it. But when we disconnect from it, we're less apt to do it. And we just see, well, this has absolutely zero application on my life. And, organic chemistry has zero application on my life. Zero. So what do we do with all of this? What do we do with this information then? How do we make this better? So I've got 3 things for you. 3. It's pretty simple. We want to get clear of avoidance and recognize the avoidance patterns that we have in our lives, because we all have them, by the way. And we want to make a way for acceptance for the things, we just plain don't want to do and are putting off or whatever. So number 1 is we got to clean up the fuzzy goals. Now, this is my contrast. If I were to invite you over to my house, we have a fabulous hike to go you all the way up to the waterfalls and look down and all around. And I mean, unbelievably beautiful. Would you come to my house and show up in fuzzy slippers? Would you? Well, that's exactly what a fuzzy goal is. You know, you don't walk out of the house with fuzzy slippers. You put on the appropriate foot gear that you need for the job that you're going to do. On Saturday night, Mark and I went to dinner at we have a little clubhouse here. And we went to dinner and listened to some music and had a wonderful time. But I'll tell you what, I wore high heels for the first time in forever. And I got all dressed up and it was really fun. It's been a long, long time since I did that. And that was appropriate for Saturday night. It wouldn't have been appropriate that I showed up in my Ugg boots, right? This is what acceptance is all about. Acceptance is appropriate. It's appropriate. Avoidance is inappropriate because it doesn't work out for your life. It hinders the things that you want in your life by avoiding stuff. So we've got to fix that and stop showing up for our lives in fuzzy slippers. We're not going to get anywhere very fast with fuzzy slippers, right? Lisa's giving it the boot and Jane's got fuzzy slippers on. Yeah, we did have a fun date night, and just, you know, FYI, there was a guy who was in front of us who was waiting to be seated, and then he went and got his seat, and hit the couple that he was supposed to be meeting. His wife was out of town. The couple he was supposed to be meeting were hung up in a closure on the highway, and they had to turn around and just go home. And so he was all by himself. And I see him sitting over there. Guess what I did? Y'all know me, right? I said, Mark, let's invite him over. Let's invite him over. So he came over, sat down, and had dinner with us, and we enjoyed meeting him. And now we want to meet his wife, and now we've made new friends. Yay! Yay! That's exactly what I said to him. Is we need new friends. We need friends here in Conisty, and so now we have a friend, our new friend Kevin, and then my friend Barbara, who also lives here, is in Paris, and she just wrote me and saying that, you know, they want us to go with them to a wine dinner. So I'm saying I made it my goal, though, not to avoid meeting people, but instead to make sure that I connect with people. And look what we did. We invited Kevin over. Mark wouldn't have done that on his own, by the way, but I have a goal. I want a community. I want a friend circle. I want people that are right here. I want to have a fun and vibrant, good time with people. I want to meet them. I want to greet them. I want to have them in my home. I want to meet them at the wherever. So that's part of the whole thing. And that's why I invited that guy over and said, hey, come on over. But, you know, this gets you off of the fuzzy slipper syndrome of, you know, just putting stuff off and not having the right shoes on for the right job. You want to come have dinner with me? Cornelia, I'll invite you up. Okay. We live in Brevard. We're not far. Come on out. You come up and bring your husband. We'll have fun. So we clean up the fuzzy goals. We get a little bit more sharper about what it is that we want. We decide not to wear the fuzzy slippers anymore and put on the appropriate footwear, and we get busy. We get to work. We do all of that. So you have to create a plan, though. Number 2, create a plan. Anyone? Once you've pinpointed the problem, once you've able to see what am I avoiding, you just say, aha. And I promise you, if you ask yourself that question, you will figure it out. And once you've done that, then you got to create a plan. Okay, I've been avoiding this whole thing. I've been doing this instead of doing that. I've been wearing fuzzy slippers everywhere. I need to change my shoes, you know? So that's number 2 is just part of the discovery process. But number 3 is the most important one, I think. And that is that you've got to schedule your time. Now, hear me. If you've got so much on your plate right now that you're sitting there in this place of overwhelm, which I get it, right? I totally get it. Then it's absolutely imperative that you schedule your time, because time is so precious. Get a time block sheet, savingdinner.com/time. They're free. We'll happily give it to you. You can print out as many as you want. Figure out where your time is going. Figure out where you can fit things in. And if it is genuinely and truly true that you don't have enough time, then figure out what needs to go so that you can squeeze stuff in. That's what the only thing can you hire? Can you do this? You keep going until you figure it out. And then the other thing is, if you've retired and you have all day long, imperative that you schedule your time. Do you know why? And I know this because in my coaching, I've coached women who are absolutely choking for lack of time. And I've also coached women who've just recently retired and they've got so much time and they're getting nothing done. And why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? They haven't taken the time to look at what's up, to do the compare and to the contrast. When we look at what is up with our time, when we see where our time is going, this is why we need those time block sheets. We have to be we have to cherish our time. You know, one of my pet peeves is killing time or wasting time or any of that. Time is an unrenewable commodity. You will never be given any time back that you have squandered. That's why I say don't spend your time, invest your time. Invest in things that have purpose, that have meaning, and that light you up. Obviously not everything, cleaning a toilet's not going to do that for you, right? It's just not. But we will get things done and tasks put away and just blitz through stuff so that we can have the quality of life that we want, so that we can have the quality of life that we want. Noreen, it will happen soon enough. It will happen soon enough. Everybody, listen, people who are retired wish that they had a job, and people who had a job wish they were retired. But we always take the time. We take the time that, if we cherish our time, we invest our time is the whole point. So awareness is the first step. Being aware, time is precious. How am I going to spend it? How am I going to? And if you have the luxury of spending a lot of time, of investing a lot of time, I should say, in your goals and stuff, great. Really use that, then get really project oriented, really put that stuff on a fast track. Don't allow yourself just all this lollygagging time. That's just wasteful. And right now, this is something that you need to do, is stay on top of keeping your brain sharp and your body strong. We have to. That's where we are at this point in life. And if you don't have a whole lot of time, how much more critically important is it that you stay on top of the time that you do have? This is why we're in this. Are you going to avoid it? The confrontational stuff that everybody has in their lives, or are you going to accept it and get on with it so you can invest wisely in your future? What about that? And I'll tell you what, speaking of being aware, did you know tonight is our second sprint of the year? And it's a live webinar, y'all. I want you there. savingdinner.com/sprint. Go get signed up. We'll send you a reminder just before it starts. It's on Crowdcast. We have Q&A. I will stay there until every question is answered. You have my full attention. Are you going to be there tonight? savingdinner.com/sprint. Go get it. Anyway, that's everything that I have for you. I am so thankful that you show up here every week. Tomorrow is Transformational Tip Tuesday. Oh, boy, are we going to contrast some stuff. You're going to want to show up for that. Peace be with you. I so appreciate you. I'll see you tonight. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Check back for new episodes. If you missed the live show, you can always watch the replay. You can find Saving Dinner on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Until next time, pinkies up.